Welcome to Scrapping. Today we're going to be working on the rear brakes on the 2010 Nissan Frontier. I need to work on the emergency brake adjustment. I've done it once when I did the rear brakes a couple months ago, but I could tell it's a little bit off when you pull up on the handle. So we're going to go through what we have to do to tighten that up, and we'll go from there. But also, most cars have more than one adjustment on them. This thing has at least two. It may even have three. I haven't looked. I read about another way, but this one has an adjustment underneath the middle console. But we're not going to touch that one. And then it's got a real adjustment down in the actual brake. So what we're going to do is we're going to go in there, and if it's lined up, we'll just adjust it through the hole. But my guess is it's not going to be lined up, so I'll probably take off the brake, adjust everything, make sure it's really tight, and go from there. But it should be good, should be easy. Just got to take the wheel off, do a couple other things. So we'll get to that right now. First thing we're going to do is chalk the other tire. And then loosen up everything. Then we're going to jack it up. So we're jacking up the car. So what I'm doing next is I'm going to take the brake caliper off so that I can actually remove the rotor. Righty tighty, lefty loosey. And on a Nissan Frontier, this is 14 millimeters. And you'd be doing the same thing if you were changing the pads. If you're changing the pads. Okay, so take this off. Right here for now. Looks pretty good. And then pull the pads out for now. These are brand new. So, okay. Now we're going to take this bracket off. Can't remember what size this is. This has got to be 19 millimeters. That's what this looks like. If you can see it, that's not the best way. But right in here, there's two bolts and they hold this bracket right here on. Might be a little dark. There's the bolt. Kind of just have to re-angle that to get it out. Alright. So this is that bracket. Okay, so now make sure guard's in park. And then take the emergency brake off. now the emergency brake's off. You should be able to pull this over. Alright. Now for fun. Don't breathe that. Okay. Alright, so the way this works, here's your rotor. The emergency brake presses on the inside of this edge. So what you're looking for here is this adjuster right here. You gotta figure out which way makes it go out. I think it's opposite on either side, but I could be wrong. I have to look at the other side. That's the adjuster. They're pretty dirty. The pads are okay. They could be replaced soon. I'm just going to see if I can get a little bit more life out of the emergency brake before I replace them. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to adjust this, figure out which way it goes. The other thing is these rotors, if you look at them, right here, there's this little plug, and you can pull it out from the other side. I'm just going to push it because I have it off. This, if you have the rear wheels off the ground, you can then turn this, as long as the brake is off, and then line it up with this, so you don't actually have to take this off. I was taking it off basically to look at them, make sure they're okay, which I would recommend. It's not complicated. And I turned this, if you're looking at it from the top, I turned it counterclockwise to make it go further out, it looks like. Hold that a second if that was right. Yep, that was right. So, counterclockwise if you're looking down on it. I think it's just a little too far. Now what you want to do, this up here so it doesn't fall. So I'm going to bring it back a little bit. Going clockwise. That's the thing, they move too, so I'm going to line them back up. See, I honestly think it needs to go a little bit further. I don't know if I can, because this doesn't line up in its current position. And I don't really want to jack up the other side of the car yet. I'm going to do that all at once. So, let's see if we can get this the tightest I can get it. Don't do that. Don't press your fingers. Okay, so that feels great. I think this could go. What's funny is you could actually adjust it from the inside here. If you have this off a little bit. Alright, so I don't know if you'll be able to see this, but see how I pulled it out a little bit? You could actually reach in here and adjust it. With a screwdriver, if you just pull it out of here. Honestly, if you don't want to jack up the other side, this is the lazy way to do it, and that's what I'm going to do right now. I just want to get it pretty tight. So I'm going to do it another notch or two if I can. Alright, that feels pretty good. I'm going to go pull the emergency brake and see what it looks like. Oh yeah, it's not going anywhere. Okay. Alright, so before I forget, I'm going to put this little rubber plug back in. Sometimes you just screwdriver to push it. That might be a little too far. No, that's good. So there it is. Anyway, so that's back in. I left the brake on so that way nothing moves. I'm going to put the caliper bracket back on now. So this guy goes in like this. You might have to pull on the actual cover a little bit. Just gonna hand tighten these. Do the bottom and top at the same time to save some time. You want to look up the torque specs on these and double check that you did this to the right torque. However, for right now, I'm just going to tighten them up. I'll come back after the torque them because I want to get the other side checked. Make them really, really, really tight. So another thing you can do while you're in here, obviously change your brake pads. These ones are pretty good. They're a little crunched up because when I did this, the old pads are super rusty. So I was basically waiting for the rotors to cut it back in. So. It doesn't matter which side is which on these, they're both exactly the same. I'm going to actually flip them opposite so it burns some of this crap off the back. I'd say put a little grease on these because when I did the brakes last time, they were all freaking gross. The little clips here. These little clips right here, they're all seized up. That's why the brakes are so bad. When I did it last on this truck, everything was stuck on the front. Half the brake pads were working, and it was all because these really needed to be greased. So before I put these on, I'm gonna put a little tiny bit of grease on there. You should use something that's like that's meant for brakes. so it doesn't get on the actual pads. Don't want much, just little tiny dots, that way it can slide. Like I said, you only want this on the little slider. You do not want this on the pads. Stupid chickens are back. If you watched our other videos, these chickens are a bundle of fun. They're not our chickens. I don't even know whose they are. They just seem to be around. Alright, so now we can take the rotor down. You shouldn't have to really push this back because you didn't really do the brakes here. If you did the brakes, you should have the tool to push the caliper back in. But like I said, we're here for another reason. Just putting these in. Remember, these are 14 millimeters. The ones on the back are 19. Remember to check your torque specs on all this stuff. Alright, so before using this camera, you might have trouble seeing me. Tighten these down. So again, I'll come back through and torque these afterwards. I gotta look up the torque specs. Not really sure what they are off the top of my head. Alright. So this guy should be good. Super ridiculously tight. Yeah, it's funny, you could actually move this up here, but you can't move anything else because it's locked. Because of the brakes. Alright, so next step, I'll put it down. Alright, so what I'm doing now is putting the tire back up. Tighten them down by hand first, and then I'll use this socket with impact gun on it. We'll be torquing these down to 100 foot-pounds. You should look that up. But generally speaking, 100 foot-pounds is fine. I'm just using a socket to make it a little easier on myself. Just remember, don't use the impact gun on the security bolt. Just jacked it up. Now we're going to take the jack stand out. Lower the car, and then this side is pretty much done. Check and make sure your wrench is on 100 foot-pounds. Mine is on that because we used it last time to do this. And use your cross pad. Check to make sure everything is all tightened back up. So this side is done.